Hello and welcome to another episode of Two Guys and a Chainsaw. I'm Todd.
And I'm Craig.
Well, coming fresh off of Werewolf Month, decided to just do something totally random that had been on my list for quite a long time. Today we're doing one of Craig's favorite genres, old 1970s, early 1980s Italian horror films. This one is Burial Ground, otherwise known as The Nights of Terror, Le Notti del Terrore. I don't know, my Italian's probably sucks.
I already need you to explain something to me. Why is it called Burial Ground when that's not the name of the movie?
It was retitled.
The name of the movie is The Nights of Terror.
Well, it was retitled. You know how these things go. It's retitled when it gets put in like the American market or on video or things like that. Often they're too lazy to even change the title card in the movie. You remember that one? What was that one we did? That was The Mutilator, but the original title was Fall Break.
I don't know.
Super confused. If you see it on the shelves in the horror section, which I did a lot, it was called Burial Ground and had this weird, almost Dali-esque picture of a skull. It's a little silvery, but not, also dripping and kind of on a desert wasteland. I don't know. It's all very weird. Doesn't look like at all like the movie. But yeah, I think Burial Ground is not a bad name for this. Probably a little more interesting than The Nights of Terror. The director is Andrea Bianchi. He died in 2013. Okay, so he lived to the ripe old age of 88. And he mostly was known for doing giallos. And then just like most of the giallo people, dipped into like gore horror every now and then. I'm not ashamed to admit that I sat down and watched his 1975 film Strip Nude for Your Killer, which, title alone,
sexy.
Yeah. That was another one I had seen on lists that... we're like, yeah, some giallos you need to see. And for a giallo, it wasn't awful. It wasn't super great. But anyway, it's been on my list for that reason. It's been on a lot of lists. People say it's this fun zombie movie that's got everything you expect in a zombie movie. Lots of old, decrepit zombies lumbering about. Lots of gore, lots of kills, and boobs. So I went into it with that expectation, and a number of the reviews I had read were quite positive. Mm-hmm. Then after watching the movie, I read more and more reviews, and I saw they were very across the board. It's almost polarizing. What people, either you love this movie and you think it's great for whatever reason, or you're like, this is just like boring, dumb trash. So I'm not sure which side of the fence you'll fall on. We'll find that out. But I assume you've never seen this before.
No.
Yeah, of course not.
Never heard of it, no.
Even the cover art didn't strike you from the...
I don't know. I don't even remember what the cover art was.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't know. I just want to say off the bat that this movie is an hour and 25 minutes long. I aged 40 years... watching this movie.
It does.
I swear to God, I was like just hitting the touchpad on my laptop every 30 seconds. And every 30 seconds I was like, oh, there's still 40 minutes left. And then 30 seconds later, oh, there's still 39 minutes left.
Well, it does kind of plod along at the pace of a zombie, and not the 28 Days Later zombies. We're talking the original George Romero zombies. Maybe even slower, honestly. Yeah, I felt like, if I were to sum up this movie, it felt like a whole bunch of B-roll that was cobbled together, and then some actors were brought in to flesh out the bare minimum of what you could possibly consider a story.
I have no idea how this movie was originally presented because all of the dialogue is clearly ADR.
Oh, yeah.
So I couldn't tell. It almost looked to me like they just shot footage without the actors talking at all. And then they just laid dialogue over it.
Maybe they did.
Like, I don't think that these actors had any idea what they were going to be saying in these scenes. I think they were just told to, like, maybe move their mouths a little bit, but it didn't even matter because everything was shot in such tight close-up that you could only see their eyes for the most of the time. So you didn't even see their mouths moving, so it didn't matter. But there was all this ADR laid over it, and the dialogue was so stupid.
I know. You would have to imagine that a person, even if English isn't their first language, like if a person actually was given these lines to read on set, they would have been like, no, I'm not doing that. Come on. We're going to massage this a little bit.
Just film me with my mouth closed.
It's a good strategy. It's a good strategy for keeping your options open. Maybe I wouldn't have chosen these particular options at the end of the day. Oh man, I can't wait to talk about some of this dialogue. It is crazy.
It worked. Like, here's the thing. I went to IMDb not to read the trivia because I typically don't like to read trivia until after. Like, I want to be surprised by things.
Right.
But I do sometimes go and read reviews. And the, like, viewer reviews were like, this movie is fantastic. Like, it is the best, so bad it's good movie. Like, it's awful, but it's great. Every review that I read was like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, like, great reviews. And I texted you and I'm like, ooh, I'm excited. Then I started watching it and I'm like, this is terrible. As I was watching it, I was thinking, I want to live in the world where this is really funny and it's hilarious and I'm enjoying watching it. I tried to make a lot of connections to Troll 2 because it kind of looks like that. It kind of looks like Troll 2.
Ooh, the makeup effects a little bit. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
The costuming, the makeup effects, not good, but they made a whole documentary about it, you know, the best worst movie or whatever,
Troll
which
2.
is a great movie. If you haven't, if you haven't seen that documentary, the best worst movie, you should watch it. It's great.
It's great.
And Troll 2 really is a great bad movie. It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. But because it's so bad, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
This just didn't quite get there for me. Like, I wanted it to be that, and there were elements of it that were like that. But overall, I was like, holy shit, please let this be over.
I think what you like about Troll 2 and what most, because it's campy, right? It's super campy. This doesn't really have camp. It's just bad. I think if I had been watching this with my friends, we would have been rolling on the floor. I think we would have. I tried to imagine
a scenario in which I would enjoy this, and I couldn't. The only scenario, oh my God, this is going way back into our roots when I used to say this all the time. Put it on a screen, a big screen, at a Halloween party.
Yeah.
With no volume at all. Just this movie on a screen, no volume at all. Great ambiance for a Halloween party. But other than that, no.
This movie is 100% the movie that's showing on a television screen in another horror movie.
Yes.
Like the scene where people are watching a horror movie, this is the kind of movie that is there. Either it's a movie like this or it's a movie that they've shot to look like this so it seems silly.
Yes.
And for that, you know, it's kind of fun. I mean, I had fun at moments, but like you, I was kind of waiting for it to be over. I mean, look, we might as well just start talking about it like in detail because there's some details I definitely want to hit.
Totally. However, like, I have a page full of notes. I always take notes on the plot, but there is no sense in trying to talk about the plot of this.
There's no plot.
Zombies. Okay?
Zombies attack some people. That's all.
Yeah. The end. All right. Okay, great. So I totally agree. There are things that are very much worthy of talking about here. But if we try to get into the plot, okay, so basic setup in the beginning, some scientist or professor or something is like at an archaeological dig.
Either Jesus or a lost member of ZZ Top. I figured he's one of the two. Yeah.
He's at an archaeological dig and he like moves some rocks, which sets something into motion, which wakes up zombies.
Yeah.
Fine. Then a bunch of assholes show up at like a mansion to hang out, and it's like 3 couples, and then they just start getting picked off one by zombies randomly. That's it. That's the plot. So
yeah,
there are fun things to talk about. I'm excited to talk about some things, but that is the plot.
Yeah, that's it. Well, to be fair, that's the plot of almost every zombie movie we say, with a couple small details changed. So in that regard, it's not all that different. But the fact that it is so bare bones, and you're not going to learn anything about... Well, you'll learn a couple things about a couple of these characters. But other than that, nobody is of consequence. I can't wait till we get to it. But anyway, I love... You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. It was the one thing, like halfway through the movie, I went into the trivia because I was so bored. And there was like one like spoiler trivia. And I'm like, I don't give a like I don't care how this movie is going to end. I don't care if anything gets spoiled. And then I read that one spoiler thing and I'm like, oh, well, I have to at least watch to see that.
Wouldn't it have been more fun if you had been totally surprised? That would have been kind of fun.
I don't know.
Oh, who knows? You might have been looking away by that point. Who knows?
Probably.
Yeah. I love that this guy, who, like you said, it's just a standard setup. We don't know what he's discovered. It doesn't matter what he's discovered. All he does is say,
I'm the only one who knows the secret. It's incredible. Incredible. Yet it's true. It must be.
And that's it. And then when he goes into the tomb to hack away at a rock or whatever, which apparently somehow, for some reason, wakes up the zombies. That's literally all he does, is hack away at a rock. The zombies are coming at him, and he goes,
No! Stand back! I'm your friend! No!
Oh my God.
I kind of about fell out of my chair on that one. But yeah, the zombies are kind of crusty. I mean, I did and I didn't like the zombie makeup. We've obviously seen way better zombie makeup. This gets compared a lot to Fulci's
Zombie 2.
Zombie 2. Sometimes it's been titled Zombie 3. I think when it was released in Italy, some distributors titled it Zombie 3. Because you can do that. You can title your movie whatever you want. There's no copyright on titles. So a lot of these Italian movies would try to pass themselves off as sequels to more popular movies long after the release date, just by changing the title. But Fulci's are cool because they were crusty, right? They came out of the ground and they felt like those old schools, voodoo zombies that have been in the dirt for a while. They don't have like rotting flesh hanging off of them. They're just like mummified, and I really liked that about that movie. And I felt that this movie, most of the way, took a similar tone, right down to the throwing maggots on them very, very frequently. You see a lot of close-ups on their faces, but the Fulci makeup was done way better. This looks like everyone's kind of wearing masks. You can even see like human eyes in some of them. Like they're wearing a Halloween mask, you would paint around your eye black so that it looks like it's an eye socket, but really there's an eye in there. Even some close-ups on some of them, you could see like their lips behind the teeth. And I read in the trivia that some of these masks were just modified versions of very well-known masks. Like there's an actual Boris Karloff Frankenstein mask, where once I read it, I was like, oh yeah, no duh. Like one of those mummies looks totally like Frankenstein with just some hair, and I think they threw a couple extra teeth in there. So, I mean, I enjoyed the attempt at making these scary zombies, but ultimately I couldn't get past feeling like these were guys walking around with masks on. They moved a bit like that too.
Yeah.
Especially when they started picking up tools and using them. And organizing themselves behind battering rams to batter the door down.
What I had in my notes when the zombies first appeared is that the design is okay. I said it's just guys in masks and costumes, and that's fine. My problem with it is, okay, so if this were a stage show and the zombies didn't need to talk at all, I would think they look fantastic. But it's not on stage. It's close up, and you can clearly see that they are just in masks that do not articulate because they don't talk. So they're just full head masks. And then they're basically just dressed in like burlap sacks.
Yeah,
like that's not even fair to say.
All the same costume.
And they walk with their arms outstretched like zombies.
Like cartoon zombies.
Yeah, like cartoon zombies, like Scooby-Doo zombies, like arms outstretched, fingers dangling at the ends of their...
Yeah, for the most part.
I'm doing it. Can you see it? Can you see what I'm doing?
We all know this one. It's just
right.
The standard mummy pose as well. Yeah,
and it's fine, but they don't move fast. At some point in the movie, one of the characters is like, "Well, we can just run past them because they're not fast anyway."
One of the characters says after they've kind of fended themselves, they end up locked in the house, right? And back in this big mansion, and they board up a couple windows, and they fended off a few zombies. A couple of them have been attacked through windows or whatever, but they seem fairly safe in there. But they feel like after the battering ram, they're going to be overtaken. One of the characters says,
"Let them come in. Maybe it's something in the house they want, not us. I've got an idea."
What?
Well, let them inside. We can keep out of their reach. They're all so slow.
Oh my God. I wrote that down too. So dumb. And one would think that would be the case.
Yeah.
And yet they keep getting attacked.
Especially outside, Jesus Christ. When they're outside.
Oh my God, I know, right? I have to go back in the earlier movie to kind of set things up because there are some things that I want to talk about that need set up. Okay, so after we see this one guy, like...
You realize we're going to end up going through the plot. You realize it's just going to happen.
I don't want... No, that's not.
But you're going to have to.
We cannot, because it's so boring.
No, it is boring.
It's so boring.
Yeah.
Okay, so then these three couples... I wrote down their names. It doesn't matter. They're just these three couples. Like, middle-aged. I don't know. I say middle-aged. They're probably like in their 30s. Meanwhile, I'm 45 and ancient. But they all show up, and I have in all caps, it's all ADR. Oh my God. That drove me nuts too. I understand that these Italian films were made and they had every intention of dubbing them, and that's fine, but it still gets on my nerves.
Well, this is one of the poorer dubbing jobs. I mean, we've seen way better dubbing jobs. This one's horrible.
Oh my God. Like I said earlier, you see them talking sometimes, but for the most part, they're just like filmed from the nose up, or they're not on camera at all, and you just hear dialogue. Like, it honestly feels like somebody gave somebody the print of this movie and said, I'm not going to tell you what it's about. Just film some dialogue over it.
Make some stuff. You might not be wrong, actually.
and there's so much like, oh no, Greg, get it! Like, it's insane. It's crazy.
Well, there has to be to fill all that space.
Oh my God.
One zombie attack can take 10 minutes, and it's not an exciting 10 minutes.
Oh, it's so long. No, not at all. There are three couples. They have giant palatial bedrooms in this mansion, and one of the couples has a son named Michael who is creepy as
Yes.
and
as far as I'm concerned, the star of this movie.
the star of this movie. The only reason to watch this movie, because this child is played by a grown dwarf man.
Yeah.
Like, he's
30
a little person.
He was 32 or so when he did this.
He's credited on IMDb as a dwarf.
Yeah.
The
He is.
verbiage is controversial, but that's what he has chosen for. I guess. I mean, he's dead, so I don't know.
He's a diminutive person, yes.
Yeah, and he's playing a child, and to fantastic effect because he is so creepy, because you can tell, like, this is not a child. Like, you can just tell by looking at him. Like, he has grown man hands, but they dress him like a child and they treat him like a child the whole time. And they had to do that. They had to cast an adult man to get past, wherever they were in Italy or wherever, the legalities of casting children in violent or sexual scenarios.
Right. And thank God.
Oh, it's so silly. I mean, that's I'm not going to jump to the end. I'm not going to jump to the cum shot of the movie.
Do not. Just as we were watching the film to get to this scene, you have to go through the podcast to hear what we're talking about.
Exactly. Okay, so then there's one guy who has a mustache, who I will henceforth refer to as Mustache.
Yeah.
He and his girlfriend, she finds some lingerie like in a closet and puts it on, and he says,
You look just like a little whore, but I like that look on you.
what is this movie? and then composite of everybody
Yeah.
like, just everybody.
Randomly.
Everybody's banging, and somebody, you don't know who, is snooping, watching all these people bang. And then it turns out, I guess, that it's the kid, and he walks in on his mom and her boyfriend, I guess, banging. And she jumps off her boyfriend's dick and stands there in front of him, and I swear to God, I wish I could show it. In my notes, I have, she only covers her puss, not her boobs. And in the moment, I was like, well, they're in Europe. They don't really care about boobs.
They're Europeans.
But I feel like maybe that's important later. Oh my God. Those are the important plot points that...
This is very clever foreshadowing that the director has slipped in here. You're right. That's exactly what this is.
Oh my God. That's about it. I mean, those are the important plot points that I have.
Then there's Joan. There's Joan and a, or is it Janet and Mark?
Janet.
Janet
Yeah.
is freaking out about nothing. I believe something terrible is going to happen, Mark. And so Mark calms down his hysterical woman who becomes the stereotypical hysterical woman throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, for the whole thing.
Yep. And then, like you said, the zombies in the crypt, they're slowly making their way out of the catacombs right now. It switches between day and night so frequently, I couldn't tell whether it was supposed to be day for night in some outside shots, or whether it was really nighttime, or whether it was really day.
It was giving me shades of things. It was giving me shades of Gothic in the way that they shot the house, like shooting up at like
ceilings,
balconies and stuff. Yeah, right. And it was also giving me shades of, well, probably Zombie 2. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the zombies, I mean, they just come out of nowhere basically, but at some point I feel like it's when Mark and Janet are humping. God, there's so much humping in this movie.
If they're doing it outside in the garden,
all their clothes on, but he is humping
her leg. Like, oh God.
Oh my god, it was crazy. But one zombie comes up out of the ground, and I liked the way it looked. It reminded me of Zombie 2. It reminded me of Thriller. But these types of movies posit that you bury people 2 inches under the ground.
Yeah, just anywhere, like in the garden out back.
Their arms, as though they're laying prostrate, just rise up out of the ground as though the grass is growing out of their fingers.
Yes.
As far as I know, we bury people down in the ground. I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. The zombies come out and they chase them around.
One zombie comes out of like a flower box in the garden, I'm pretty sure.
Yes. Oh, I think that was supposed to be a crypt.
Really?
I think.
Sitting out there on top in the middle of the garden right by the fountain. And
well, and like things are growing out of the top of it. Like big plants are growing. But I think it was supposed to be a crypt. I don't know. Again, I have so many notes, but honestly, nothing happened.
Well, I mean, the creepiest part in the movie for me was when the candle-shaped light bulbs start breaking on the candelabra, and you get the shot of the butler and his maid both going back and forth like they're in a tennis match.
That was hilarious.
Moving their heads left and right as the candles break on the candelabra.
The butler and the maid were my favorite characters.
Oh, they were fantastic.
Because they had nothing to do, and they acted so scared when those bulbs started exploding, and you're so right, it was like a tennis match. It was like, you see a light bulb explode, and then it goes back to their faces, and they're just looking back and forth.
Oh, it's hilarious.
That was hilarious. They were my favorites. One of my other favorite things was like, once they are like, they know they are being besieged by zombies, and there are zombies outside the house, there are zombies all over the place. The servants still continue to serve them.
Yes.
like they're serving them champagne on trays.
Yeah, like with white gloves and everything.
Yeah, there are zombies. I am no longer your maid. Go to hell.
Not the kind of service we require right now. Once you
not getting paid enough for this. Thank you very much.
I loved these sets some of these indoor sets, not the ones that were inside of the mansion, which was clearly filmed in some actual mansion somewhere, but like when they were in these bizarre rooms, like some sculptor's studio, and then some room that looks like a garage, and then some other room that's quite empty. I'm pretty sure they were all the same room that was just lightly decorated. Like the decoration of the set just changed slightly between the scenes. And this woman is practicing shooting a gun indoors in this sculptor's studio when Michael comes in and yells, "Mama!" And he runs over and kisses her hand. And I'm like, what? He like gives her this hug, and she gives him this embrace that's a little weird. That was my first moment where I was like, something is either hilariously inept about the acting here, or they're trying to allude to something very weird between Michael and his mother.
Which they are, and at that point, it's uncertain. But again, like Mark and Janet are humping. They're still humping on the ground. And then a zombie shows up, and I swear to God, the dialogue...
Mark, what is it?
I don't know.
Oh, God, it's horrible.
Whatever it is, it's not human. It's a walking corpse.
Oh, Mark, I'm terrified, Mark.
Come on. Let's get out of here. Now. Come on.
And then they run. And again, that's another reason why this movie is just so dumb, because somebody even calls it out in the movie. Just run away from them. It's not that big a deal. And up until the end, they keep just putting themselves in confined spaces where the zombie... Like, just go out into the woods and run until you can't run anymore. They can't chase you. They're not fast.
You can walk away from these zombies. You don't even need to run. They have these stare downs while the zombie slowly stands up. That one I think you're talking about is where they just sit on the ground watching while the zombie slowly stands up and then just kind of stands there and looks at them.
Yeah.
Almost like it's a puppy. It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
And they are still acting terrified and screaming and yelling, but they're making no move to run off until some other zombie comes and attacks her from behind. Then they run off. And then it's like just a whole bunch of B-roll. It's just close-up shots of zombies popping out from behind bushes, zombies walking between the trees, sometimes wide shots, sometimes medium shots, sometimes extreme close-ups, sometimes there's one coming out of the ground, sometimes there's not.
Yeah.
Just cut in between shots of the other people standing around looking scared and occasionally running from one spot to another in this pretty open area where they could really go anywhere they wanted.
Anywhere. At one point, the zombies come across, I don't know, the weird kid and his mom and the mom's husband. And the husband tries to shoot the zombies. And we get like 20 shots of these zombies getting shot and nothing happening. And then they all just converge around him. And that's typically what happens when anybody dies. Like, it's just a bunch of zombies surround them and grab them and start disemboweling them. Now, as far as special effects goes, the practical effects are not bad. When they were disemboweling people, it looked okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's like animal parts and red paint or something.
Exactly. I feel like they were pulling out real livers and stuff. Like, it looked fine, but it didn't make any sense that these people would just stand there while they were converged upon. Like, just move. Like, just leave. And a couple of them get eaten. George, the stepdad of Weirdo Michael, gets eaten. Meanwhile, everybody else is still, like, making out.
How about Janet getting caught in a random bear trap in the garden?
Oh my God.
Of this estate.
Right before that in my notes, I have in all caps, oh my God, there is still an hour left. This is only an hour and 25-minute movie. And I surely thought it was almost over and it had only been 25 minutes. Yeah, and she's caught in a bear trap for far too long.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, like the zombies are, coming on him. He's trying to get her out. Meanwhile, he is pulling the bear trap completely open.
Yeah.
And she's just sitting there like, pull your goddamn foot out.
I know.
What is wrong with you?
And then later, when she ends up in the house and they take a look at her wound, she says, "Oh, your ankle's really bruised." I'm like, your ankle was in a bear trap. It should be broken. I don't understand.
Oh my God. She can still run around mostly, except at one point she says, "Oh, it hurts so bad. It hurts so bad. Just let me die. Just let me die." Like, what is wrong with you? Yeah, my ankle hurts. Just let me die. I would let her die.
Her boyfriend just leaves her there in the bear trap to try to fend off the zombies. I don't know where he got it from, but somehow he had a pitchfork in his hand, which he just mostly shakes at the zombies menacingly.
Yeah.
Until a one-eyed zombie basically presses himself up against it. And I thought he was going to walk into it. I thought we were going to get a cool special effect.
I did too.
No, he just
takes it
away and tosses it aside while Mark stands there patiently waiting for the zombie to get to him. This is why it's so boring, is because all these scenes are so long and they have no logic to them. So there's no tension here. I didn't feel any tension. I was just Again, if I had been with friends, we would have been laughing through this whole thing. When you're watching it by yourself, it's a different story, I think.
No, it's terrible. Should we get to the good shit? I feel like the good shit is at some point...
Michael and his mom are in the garage.
Michael and his mom. What? I don't hear... This came out of nowhere. And to be very honest, I went ahead and read the spoilers because I didn't care. But this scene comes out of nowhere.
Oh, are you going to jump to this already?
I don't know. Are we?
Just a minute.
Is there more?
Before we get to that, I want to point out a couple more things, because it's like we get the couples, and then Michael and his mom are the couple, right? Even though I think the father is still alive right now.
No, he's dead.
Are you sure? Wasn't he the bearded
guy?
guy?
I think he was the first one that got killed.
Oh, okay.
I think. I don't know. I don't know.
So they're the couple. You know, it's just couples, and they're the couple. They're in like a garage or a storage shed or something, and a zombie is again slow walking towards them, and they're just standing there. And Michael goes, "Mama, we can set it on fire."
Oh my God.
So she very deliberately and slowly picks up like a paint can or paint thinner, I don't know what it was, some chemical.
I have no idea. It's green goo.
In a bucket that is sitting, there are two of these buckets that are expressly set up for this purpose, just sitting there for no reason, that she kind of tosses on the zombie, and then he has a box of matches, and she goes back, and she gets a match from him, then she runs up to the zombie and sticks the match on him. He bursts into flames. And so, you know, you get your cool, you know, low budget effect. It's always awesome to see a person on fire because, you know, the stunt is very dangerous. So you got the zombie on fire who then collapses in front of him. Another zombie walks in after, and she does exactly the same thing.
Because Michael says, do the same thing to him.
Yes. So she does. Oh my God. It's like watching the exact same scene play out twice, back to back. It just as slow and deliberately the second time with no change as it did the first. A lot of this does feel like they're trying to chew through time, honestly.
The maid gets killed. The zombies are like surrounding the castle.
I liked the maid. Okay, let me put it this way. I have a note in here. This is 40 minutes in where they all end up inside the mansion. And at this point, it felt like it was still day, but somebody turns to the maid and asks her to go get something. So the maid lights a candle and starts to walk through the now dark hallways of the house. And so at some point here, it became night quickly. And so now we have the standard person walking slowly through the dark hallways of the house with nothing but a candle to light her path. She ends up at a window, and she leans out the window, and one of the zombie has throwing daggers? Is that it?
I guess.
It's like he throws a dagger at her, which impales her hand, which is sticking out on the sill. Impales her hand on the sill, which makes her immobile, so she can't move. Apparently, she also can't pull her head back inside, because down from below, the zombies who have tools now, this scythe, I thought it was almost comical the way this sickle or scythe or whatever you call it, you know, the thing that Death carries around, slowly comes up and over onto her neck and kind of saws through her neck and takes her head off. The guy runs in, sees her body there, sees her head off, looks down, sees that the zombies all have axes now and are starting to hack into the door. So he decides that the best course of action for him right now, for reasons I still don't understand, is to go ahead and toss her body out the window. Which he does, but it pivots on that hand. So she's hanging by that hand, and the zombies pull from below, and it rips through her hand. A totally unnecessary bit of violence to an already dead body that still I thought was kind of funny. Were you not amused by that? I thought that was hilarious. Why they went through all this trouble to do that thing, I'll never understand.
I don't know. I felt like they were trying to do stuff with effects, I guess. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand, like, now all of a sudden these zombies are like knife throwers.
Yeah. They've got axes. They just walk away too at some point, right? Like they decide the axes aren't working, so then all the zombies turn around and literally just walk away. And when they come back, they have a giant log that they're using as a battering ram. Like, heave ho, to smash the door down.
Well, the movie doesn't make any sense. Like, most of the time, they're just lumbering idiots with their arms outstretched, but they can also organize and
use tools.
Yeah, it's stupid. I don't know. I mean, I keep saying it's stupid. It's not like much different than any other zombie movie, I guess. What I read was that a lot of critics just felt like this was a cheap ripoff of Zombie 2, which we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I don't remember. I don't remember what we said about it. I don't remember watching it. I don't remember if I liked.
I think you liked it too. We both thought it was pretty solid.
And they said that this is kind of a cheap ripoff, but with like more creative kills. I didn't think the I didn't think the kills in this were particularly creative. I felt like it was fairly commonplace as far as these types of movies go.
Yeah.
I just wish the only thing, and God, I don't know. I wrote down so many lines like they can only be killed by blowing their heads off, and
how do you know that?
I don't know.
But he goes outside onto the ledge with a shotgun, and we get, I don't know, 8, 10, maybe 12 close-up shots of zombies' heads exploding.
This happens multiple times. That's another thing that bothers me is that sometimes, usually, the women are being attacked by zombies and the men will just come in and bash their heads in and they're dead and they're fine. Like, it's not like, oh, well, like, just bash their heads in. It's not that big a deal. But I guess it's just when they're overpowered by a lot of them. I don't know.
Or one.
Yeah, Mustache's girlfriend gets grabbed by a zombie through a window and her face gets all cut up. And they do like these practical effects that you see in these Italian zombie movies all the time. They're practical effects, and I love practical effects, but they weren't particularly good.
These are not particularly good in this film. Not at all. I mean, even the close-up, the skin looks like clay. It looks cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, I applaud them for throwing some gore in and doing something and doing things in close-up and trying to make it gross. Most of it just looks really cheap and third tier.
Yeah, I agree. And that's in part due to the time and their resources. But I've seen better. I know it can be better.
Like every Fulci movie, I would say, has better effects in it than this.
Yeah. So Mama protects Michael from a zombie and cuts off his head. And somebody says, "Good work, everyone. Now let's get out of here." Like, these are the lines. But that leads up to the point where for some reason, Mama and Michael are in a room by themselves, like on a settee.
Yes.
And he makes out with her.
Just
like,
suddenly.
There's no other way to put it. Like, I'm okay with the parent kissing their child on the lips. Here's going to be something controversial. Alan thinks it's weird. I kiss my parents on the lips.
I do too. I kiss my dad goodbye.
Just a quick, a quick peck on the lips. It's not like we're making out.
Yeah.
Like, I love you. I just get a quick kiss on the lips. Not a problem. But that's how it starts. But then he starts making out with her and feeling her up.
He exposes her breast.
Yeah, which she seems to be perfectly fine with.
She is cool
until
with it.
He starts to go up her dress. And then she's like, maybe not.
I sort of feel like she's cool with it until he starts talking.
Oh, Mama, I love you so much. I need to feel you near me. I need to touch you. When I was a baby, you always used to hold me to your breast. I loved your breast so much, Mama.
Oh, God.
It's so gross. I need to feel you near me. I need to touch you. Ew.
Oh, man, it was disgusting. And it's out of left field. I mean, like I said, they seemed a little weird early on, but I was kind of willing to chalk that up to just bad acting and bad staging or stupid lines. But this lays it straight out there. They've got a special relationship. Or do they? Maybe I
don't think they do. I just think he's a freak.
He's weird, and he's just taken this inopportune moment.
Because she slaps him.
Yeah.
Like, ew, no. And she slaps him and he runs away. And then he finds the zombified one of our characters that we've known who's gotten killed and is now a zombie.
Leslie.
Leslie. And I think that was Mustache's girlfriend.
Yeah.
And
she's the one who got pulled through the window.
Yeah. God. And like then Mark, the young comb-over guy, says,
Let them come in.
That's right.
Maybe they want something in the house that's not us.
Yep.
And he's like, and they're slow anyway. Oh God. So they don't let them in. They just stand there in front of the door while the zombies batter their way in. And then as soon as the zombies get in, they run away.
Yep.
And then Mama finds zombie Leslie eating Michael.
Yeah. His arm.
She kills Leslie by beating her head against the bathtub, and then Leslie bleeds a combination of blood and toothpaste.
Yes.
I didn't understand what that was all about.
I don't know what that was supposed to be. Oh, God. I thought it was like oatmeal. I wasn't sure. She goes back to cry over Michael, holding him close to her breast just like he asked for. And the camera does this weird thing where it like pans up to Leslie for good measure, like twice, like the same panning thing, the same shot twice. Oh my God.
I feel like there was no script for this movie. They just did things like, because at this point, like the zombies get in, but the people who are still alive get out and they run to a monastery. But all the monks are zombies. Like,
yes.
What? Like,
what?
What? And so then they're in this monastery, and then they run away from the monastery, and then they're in this weird set, which I read is just a set that has been used in lots of horror movies. And they're confronted by the monk zombies. And then the Michael zombie shows up. This is the only reason that this movie is notable.
Yeah.
I think.
Yes.
And it's not even worthy of it's dumb. Like,
yeah.
This isn't even a good reason for a movie to be notable. Michael shows up as a zombie, and his mom is like, "Oh, Michael, you've returned me." And the zombie walks up to her and, like, pulls her shirt down, and she's like,
"Oh, yes, darling. Just like when you were a baby. Go ahead, darling. I know you want to. You used to love it so."
And then he eats her boob. That's the only interesting part of it.
He eats her.
Incestuous Michael and like boob eating zombie Michael is the only interesting thing about this movie.
Oh my God, but what a gem it is. I mean, Mom's attitude totally changed.
Yeah.
Go ahead, darling. I know you want to. You still love it so. Oh, God.
Well, and then he starts eating it and she freaks out.
Yeah, well, because he bites it off.
So dumb. Gross.
And then yeah.
Well, that's it. Like, most of them get killed. They're still just Mark and Janet, I think. And then all of the other characters that we've known throughout the movie show up as zombies.
Yeah.
And they're just all converging on Mark and Janet, and it's obvious that Mark and Janet are going to die too.
Yeah.
And then some text comes up that's like, I don't know. I didn't write it down because I was mad. I was so done with this movie. Did you write it down?
I didn't write it down. It was
some prophecy. Some prophecy like the dead will walk the earth and blah blah blah.
And half the words are misspelled. It's really kind of funny. That shot, though, was cool, though. That final shot where they freeze-framed it with all the hands coming over the girl.
Yeah.
That might have been the best shot in the movie.
Fine.
Probably because it was the last one.
Well, and I read the whatever it says about the dead, coming to life or whatever. It says prophecy of the black spider. I read that the black spider was actually a real prophet who very accurately predicted many things, like the bombing of the Twin Towers and many, many other things. But this was not one of his prophecies at all. They just made it up. Oh, man. No,
we're
bro.
done. That's
Look,
it.
I know. I went in... God. I went in wanting to like it because I had read, oh my God, it's so bad, it's good, and I didn't. And I really kept trying to put myself, like, put yourself in the headspace where you will enjoy this. Just enjoy it for being silly and stupid, and I just couldn't. I just couldn't. I was annoyed. I was looking at the timestamp every 2 minutes. I was counting down by the minute for the last 20 minutes. I was like, oh my God, there's still 15 minutes left. Are you kidding me? I couldn't put myself in the right headspace. I do think that if you just muted it and put it on in the background, it would be nice ambiance. But beyond that...
Well... Because there's probably no more zombie movie out there that has more shots of zombies than this one. I mean, this one is so... Every other shot is a shot of a zombie, I think.
But they don't look good.
No, they don't look good. I'm just saying quantity-wise. You know, it's good background stuff for Halloween. You know, like I said, the movie that's playing in the background on television in another horror movie is this one right here. Because this is zombie, 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 zombie. I don't know, man. I felt that it was so bad it's good. That didn't mean that it didn't get boring in parts. But if you were watching this with friends, you would have a riot. And you'd have plenty of time to get up and go to the bathroom or, you know, go to the kitchen, get more drinks.
You're not going to miss anything.
Or just, you know, hold a parallel conversation, you know, without missing anything. But with it playing, I mean, I would have had a ball with this. I think you and I probably would have had a ball with this watching it together. Although, once again, a little boring at most of the time, really.
I wish I had more to say about it. Would I recommend this movie? No, not really.
No, it's kind of hard for me to recommend too.
If you're into those Italian movies, I mean, I get it. I get that it's part of a genre that people really enjoy.
Well,
it's just not a genre that I particularly enjoy, so I don't feel like my opinion on it should influence people if this is stuff you like. You and I have different taste.
Yeah.
You like this kind of stuff usually. Now, the fact that you're saying maybe this isn't great, you usually like this type of stuff. I usually don't. So don't take my... If you're going to take anybody's word for it, take yours, because you're more into this stuff. It's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah. I mean, what can I say? I do feel like you would like this movie if you like these kind of movies, but it's not the best of these kind of movies by far. It's not the most exciting of these kind of movies by far. It's not even the most adept. It's just boring at a lot of times, and so it's really hard for me to recommend it as well, when there's just so many other great, so bad they're good, and sometimes just so good they're good Italian horror movies out there in the same vein. So
Sure.
Yeah, very disappointing considering all the hype it seems to get online. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if when we put this up, there's going to be vehement, stern messages in the comments.
I don't know. I don't think many people have seen this movie.
Maybe not. Well, you can skip it if you haven't. Go check out Zombie 2 instead.
Yeah.
That's a good alternate. Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, please share it with a friend. You can find us online just by searching Two Guys in a Chainsaw Podcast, or going straight to chainsawhorror.com, where you can leave us a message. Find us on social media, any one of those places. We'd love to hear from you. Leave us a review and let us know what you thought of this podcast, as well as any other articles. As long as your review is going to be good. And if it's not, keep your opinions to yourself. No, seriously, we appreciate any and all feedback, as well as the support of our patrons. Go to patreon.com/chainsawpodcast and consider $5 a month. You will get our complete unedited phone calls. And let me tell you, this one would be a doozy if you are at all interested in our personal lives, and I don't know why you would be, but some people are, find our unedited phone calls, mini-sodes that we put out there for our patrons, mini reviews, lots of actually little interesting things we have going on behind the scenes. Love interacting with those folks. Thank you for your support. That, again, is at patreon.com/chainsawpodcast. Until next time, I'm Todd.
And I'm Craig.
With Two Guys and a Chainsaw.